Greetings to you, Daniel Thomas. From all of the undead here, you didn't run into too many restless ghosts on your way into the land of the damned, did you?
No, it's been quite present. The headless chauffeur has been very kind to drive me around the kingdom. It's been quite wonderful. I do think you have a necromancer problem, but I'm sure we could sort that out with a little bit of magic.
Maybe. We'll have to find out, though. It seems everyone who comes here has a very pleasant stay but me. Maybe it's because I'm the one trapped here. It's all a novelty for you lot. Well, I guess the best place to start is by asking for you to tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do?
So I'm an urban fantasy author, writing for Aethon Books at the moment. My first book, Born of the Shades, came out a week ago, I believe. And I've got another one, Into the Shade, coming out on the 8th of October. It is October this month, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is. Sorry. So mostly I just write. When I'm not writing, I work in a supermarket or I do plastering jobs on the side. That's me in a nutshell.
So, why did you start writing? Any reason in particular?
I always kind of had the tendency to daydream. I'd just come up with silly little things in my head, or maybe a game I was playing or a TV show I was watching. When it's finished, I'd think what happened next, and I'd think about those kind of things. And then I ended up with a friend talking about making a graphic novel. So I wrote up some scripts and he was supposed to do the art, and he never actually did the art. And I had all these scripts for a graphic novel. And I turned those scripts into the first draft of a book, which was absolutely awful. But that was where my journey basically began.
Interesting.
I just had this need to create a story.
Sort of like all the scripts upon my laptop that will never ever see the light of day.
Yeah, we're definitely in the same boat there. I don't think I'll ever release those scripts.
Yeah, I have so many scripts for short films, TV series, radio scripts, and they will never see the light of day because I can't be bothered. I'm going to put it bluntly, I just can't be bothered. So, where do you find your inspiration? What drives your creativity?
I just have this need to make something. Just this need to kind of have a story out there that I've done, just to have people read it and say that was done by this person. It's just something I kind of hope that one day someone will look back and say he did something good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's sort of like leaving a legacy behind.
That's really my motivation. Yeah, it's to leave a mark on the world in some small way before I disappear into obscurity.
Yeah. It does make sense. I think quite a few writers have felt that throughout their lives. I know I definitely have. I think that was the motivation for me to publish my first ever book. God, I regret that. Teen fiction romance. Oh.
That's a good seller, though.
It was at the time, but I hate the fact that I wrote it now. I will never write under the same name again. Just out of embarrassment. At least you didn't do that, though.
No, it's true. I am
You
writing
didn't
something
think
I'm very
so
passionate about.
far.
No, I'd only ever be able to write something that I know that I will always want under my own name, kind of thing.
So how long has it taken you to write each book?
Well, it's taking less and less time as I progress. I started 6 or 7 years ago, and the first book, which is the shortest of the 3 that are being released, took me 5 years. The second book took me a year, and then the third book took me a year. So yeah, it was 6 years I was writing, if my maths is right there. I'm absolutely terrible at maths. I'm pretty sure I just did 7 there, didn't I? But yeah, it took me a very long time, because the first book I was teaching myself how to write and how to get everything right. And I had some help through a couple of people I know, a couple of people that know how to do this, and I managed to figure it out now, I think, so it's not taking me as long.
Well, just tell us all that your first draft at least had a beginning, middle, and end.
No, not at all. Not at all. Oh my gosh. My first draft was just scenes all over the place, and none of it made any real sense. I showed it to someone, they said, you need to structure this, and I was like, how the hell do I do that? And I managed to string it together, and it worked.
You went against Todorov.
I didn't know what I was doing before, but I figured it out in the end.
So, are you now on the side of the light with Todorov and Joseph Campbell and all the sane people? Please say you're on that side now.
And I'm a complete linear writer now, so I know where it's going, and I know that what chapter needs to flow into the next.
Yeah.
So it's very structured now.
So, seeing as you taught yourself how to write, what difficulties have you faced when writing?
Procrastination is probably the biggest difficulty I face. I'll sometimes go a good month without even going anywhere near my office, just because I let things get in the way. But then there's also, I have like a lot of anxiety issues when it comes to writing. So if I write a chapter I'm really proud of, I will panic and think that I can't write a chapter better than that ever again, and that I don't deserve to be a writer, because I can't think of anything better than that. And then I'll just not even think about writing for a while. So those are my struggles when it comes to writing, I'd say.
Well, at least now you can tell yourself that you do deserve to be a writer, seeing as you've been published.
Yeah, you'd think that'd help, but
It never does.
The fear is always going to be there, I believe.
Yeah, so I'm guessing the anxiety will eventually kind of lighten up a bit, though, as you kind of get more experience in the writing world.
I hope so. I do.
However, anxiety is also the writer's curse. Among other things, there's a lot of curses to being a writer, just to warn you.
Yes.
So,
writers now as well.
What can you tell us about your creative process?
So I think about things for days, just kind of live within my mind while I'm doing chores and while I'm at work, to my head, and just live in the world that I'm figure out plot points and what this character's going. is going to behave or things affected them, and that I'll plan out what I'm going to write, and then I'll sit pants my way through it.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but it kind of broke up a lot just then.
Oh no.
Could you please repeat that?
That's fine.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was all alone then. Thought you'd left me.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
So, what can you tell us about your creative process?
Okay, so I have things in my head, and I'll just kind of escape into while I'm at work or while I'm at home doing, and gritty of what I'm going to do next in the book. Character developments or plot developments, and I'll really vibe with these characters that are almost like people to me now. They're like friends, I'd say.
They are. They're just the friends in your head.
Sit down in my office. They are. Sisters that won't shut up. And I'll pants my way through it. Usually sitting under a purple light because someone told me that. And then I'll attack the keys and hope for the best.
Yeah. Though I've never heard about the purple light before.
Yeah. So colours can affect you in a certain way. Makes you calm, red makes you anxious or angry or whatever it is. And purple is supposed to make you more sensitive.
See, I understood about the creativity from when I did my university degree. Like, colours can influence when it comes to advertisements. Like green can show healthy foods and make you think of salad. Oranges make you think of warm cooked foods and stuff like that, like a Sunday roast dinner. But I'd never actually thought that they could affect you that way. I'm going to have to look into that.
I remember reading an article on it somewhere, and a friend did tell me about it. Well, I can't factual that is, but it seems to help, I think.
Well, you hear that, everyone? Purple lights. People try it out and let me know if it works. Because if that does work, I want a light for sleepiness, okay? Someone post it to me, maybe I can get the witch to fall asleep with it. Just saying. Might help. So, what inspired you to write the 3 books you've written?
Really, it would be Terry Pratchett's novels. I've always liked the way he's basically criticized history through his books, and I thought I could really do that in a way as well, and bring a universe that fits our current world, sizes it in a way, is humorous and is fun, but at the same time has dark aspects. Just really things aren't as simple as
So, do you base any of your characters on real life people? Don't worry, you don't have to answer that if it's embarrassing.
I did you in there because he's actually a comical person.
Sorry, what was that?
I threw my nephew in there into the book just because he's a comical person. I have hinted on being historical figures, but I haven't outright said it because a lot of them are hundreds of years old and stuff like that. The Vampire King, who's like 10,000 years old, he's been like, he was Dracula. That story got changed and was this guy, and he was little bits here and there, but it's only hinted on. So really read into it, you'll pick it up. But if you're not interested, you'll just glance at it.
Interesting. So, can you give, without giving too much away, because of course we don't want to know the entire plot, can you give us a few little hints as what's in it? What's it about?
So, there's a major conspiracy after the fallout of a blue moon affected every supernatural in a certain way. Magical. After that blue moon, the whole supernatural world's in a bit of a dizzy, and a secret sect of necromancers have taken to disrupt the secret organization that keeps that world hidden humans, and the books are really the battle between the status quo, those that are trying to disrupt them. So you get the leaders of the werewolves, the leaders of the vampires, which is where all train order while things are just going haywire because of those secret little necromancers.
Sounds really interesting. Really does. So
it's a difficult one to write up.
Sounds it. And I'm going to have to pause again.
Yep.
So, with all of that kind of mixed in together, are there any hints you might be able to give us as to some little things that might happen?
So there's a good few fight scenes and full of torture scenes. A lot of drama. I can't on things without touching onto.
Okay, we'll stop there then on that question. Don't want you giving it all away. Do you intend to write any other books then? Do you have any other books in the works at the moment?
I do.
Is it about me?
So there will be. I'll let you design your own character. I actually have character sheets that giving out in competitions in the future.
Well, let me know when you do that, and I will happily put the competition in this podcast for any of our listeners to participate.
Will do.
Anyway, carry on, sorry.
Sorry. I actually forgot the question.
Do you intend to write any other books? What other books have you got in the works at the moment?
Yes. So I've got all of books that are within the same universe, but are standalones in their own right. So there's, which is about a young orphan boy in Naples who he is capable of witchcraft and discovering a strength that manages to speak to him in his dreams.
I'm sorry, I'm
6-hour
losing you a
outbreak.
little bit again.
So
It's this curse, it's interfering with the internet.
it's that crafty.
So you were talking about a little boy in Naples, and it just kind of started going all over the place.
Oh, okay. So I a series about this young orphan boy living in Naples. Others, he's capable of witchcraft and strange rat that can speak to his dreams. He learns, ends up fighting the mafia, I believe. I'm not sure if I'm doing that yet, but I also have the 6-hour outbreak, which will be the alchemist developed a zombie mentally trying to cure vampires from any necromantic spell, and contingent of specialists have to stop. And there'll be a different number of an intelligent zombie. There'll be your baby, your folly, that kind of thing. I haven't a handful of books. I think I'm going to do a time travel one as well. Got a few that I've started.
I swear to God, there must be something wrong with this episode because so many interferences, and now like this. I'm sorry, you've just been cutting in and out, and I didn't want to interrupt because I was trying to work out what you were saying. Oh God. And now for the big important question. After all, this is the first episode of October, and it is all things ghosts. Are you a believer?
I don't believe in ghosts. But that make me feel like ghosts may actually exist.
So, have you ever had like any paranormal, I guess, experience that you can't explain logically?
Yes. So the house I grew up in, that none of us could sleep in, and there was five of us, and no one could sleep in it except brother, my the middle son, I'd say he is. Red room because it had red wall, but also because you get to sleep in there, and you just had a state of panic whenever you cut off. It wasn't right, and you'd hear noises. I was young, so petrified, and I'm probably just telling you someone died in that room or something. I don't, but this was like when I think about that god awful room.
Well, I've got to say, I think I'm in a similar boat because I'm not sure whether or not to believe in ghosts, but I've had experiences I've never been able to explain. So, what do you think happens when we die then?
Well, a believer and that energy transfer. I believe that hopefully our consciousness is an energy that will transfer into some type of ether. We stay conscious and we don't completely go into the dark void. That's my hope. Our consciousness will transfer some form of energy which will continue to live out.
It is a big hope. I think a lot of people have. But to be fair, it could also be a case of our energy just transfers into a new body, giving it new life, and that is why we have fragments of memories that are from quote-unquote past lives. Just sometimes those memories may be stronger than others, and that's why they pass on. You never know. Just a theory. Just a thought. But then I'm also that person I was going to say, I'm also that person that thinks that God is, well, if there is a God, because I don't really believe in a God, but if there was a hypothetical God, I believe that would be a woman. So, just saying.
Because I believe that God is an all.
What's that, sorry?
I believe that.
I still didn't catch that.
Oh.
Try again? Third time charm?
Yeah, I believe that God and he's just trying to entertain people.
Either you said God is a clown or God is an asshole.
A writer. So pretty much between. I say that right as a writer.
See, the reason I think that God could potentially be a woman if God does exist is because of one simple thing in the Bible. Now Christians go on about how God made man in his image, but God can bring life into the world. He can create new life. If man is created in the image of God, then wouldn't man be able to birth children and not women?
That's a good idea.
Because women are creating life, nurturing it and bringing it into the world, just as God did to create the world. Therefore, wouldn't God be a woman and wouldn't women be made in God's image?
But would a woman really such a messy state?
What's that, sorry? Would a woman leave the world in such a messy state? I don't know. Have you seen some women? There was
I don't think.
Story time. There was a girl I knew, right, and her house was like entering a pigsty. Literally, atomic bomb had hit the ground, exploded, everything was everywhere, debris, the lot, and the house had just been plonked on top. That is what the house was like inside. Okay, so. That was what the house was like. So yes, I think a woman may leave the world in such a messy state. Just might have felt that way inclined that day. But no, it is a very valid point. I am that person that, of course, being trapped here, I have way too much time to think on these things, and I actually did hypothesize that God is a woman if God exists. Because as well, I've got an extra rib.
I just think women are managing things than men, so pretty let the world get to the way it is. In a couple of days.
But yeah, so do you believe then that well, as I always say when looking at true accounts, always take everything with a huge mountainous pinch of salt. But do you believe that some of the stories that have been published, not so much Amityville, because we all know that was fake, but some of the other more well-known stories could have actually been hauntings? Real, genuine hauntings.
I'd like not. I would very much like not to, but there are so many unexplained within this world that, yeah, probably some could. I mean, if you think about it, everything is possible. So why not, if it proves that they didn't happen, then maybe they did. And that's petrifying, but ghosts could exist, and
I'd have to agree with you. I would rather not believe that any of them are real, because the idea of being in the shower and having someone just stood there watching you and you can't see them is terrifying. I don't know why that idea is more terrifying than any other aspect of ghosts, but it is.
I used to suffer from sleep. Like, wake up at night, not be able to move, and I'd see over me but yeah, that was, yeah.
I've had sleep paralysis once.
Stems from,
and it was nowhere near as scary as the idea of someone watching me in the shower.
Wrote a poem about it. Hey, hasn't happened in a very, very long time, so
and pause. So, without getting too personal, like, how often were you having sleep paralysis, and what was the scariest thing you saw?
Just that it was just this faceless woman. I guess that's might have been a man, but and just floating above me and inch until I managed to say something or make a noise. Minutes, and it happened every night. Ask me how long, but it was long enough to jump.
Wow. Kind of sounds like the bent neck lady from what was that?
What was it? Haunting of a House.
Yeah, Haunting of something. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, that messed me up for a good.
It does though, because of the way you're on about. She hovered over you, and the way she hovered over that girl immediately came to mind the bent neck lady, and that scene of her laid on the sofa with this bent neck lady staring back at her, screaming. I guess that would terrify me, if I'm going to be honest. Probably more than the idea of something looking at you in the shower while being invisible. If I saw that.
Something actually being there.
If ghosts are about, don't you fucking dare do that to me. I will hurt you. Maybe dead, but I will find a way to hurt you. Sorry, just had to put a warning out. I am in the Cursed Kingdom after all. So, do you know of any other paranormal experiences that you've not been able to explain, whether it's happened to you or someone you know? What scares you most about them?
Been a few instances where like a what do you call it? Off a wall during a certain time, and it freaked everyone. Coincidence. I don't believe in those things because I make myself not believe in them, because if I do believe in them, my imagination will run wild, and then next thing you know, I don't sleep for a month.
I think that's a big thing about writers is, well, any artist, you have such a big imagination that if you let yourself believe something like that, that's it. Your imagination is just going to run wild with you, and you're going to have nightmares far worse than anything you would have ever seen on TV. Unless you get to my point where I actually had, whenever I watch something scary, I have nightmares, but I actually enjoy them because they're fully fleshed out stories.
Yeah, I really well written, and I have to thank, but still not worth it.
See, I had a nightmare after watching The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix, because I binge watched it, and I actually enjoyed my nightmare because even though the story wasn't like out of the series, it was a completely different story that my imagination had decided to come up with while I was asleep and just roll with it. It was a fully fleshed out narrative, and I was pissed off when my mum woke me up. Like, my mum comes in and
those ones that you think.
My mum woke me up and she was like, "You've got to wake up, you're crying in your sleep, sweetheart, just wake up." And I'm like, "Mum, piss off, I was enjoying that because I wanted to know what happened next." I know it was scary, I was probably screaming my head off, but I wanted to know genuinely who murdered this chick.
No, when I have those nightmares, I cartoons until I have to go to work.
Yeah.
Sleep.
I get them often enough, and they're like fully fleshed out narratives, and you're just like, you are the main character in the story, like, but you want to know what's gonna happen. You want your questions answering, but your brain always refuses to give you the freaking satisfaction.
You can never go back in.
No, and you end up like with so many unanswered questions. I mean, I still have unanswered questions about that nightmare. Like, who the hell murdered the chick that was haunting my house? Why was the murderer setting paper on fire in my hand? And the demonic laugh, was that the murderer? Who was it? Why did he do it? Not fair.
No, not at all. Sounds like fun.
That is the worst nightmare, is when your brain refuses to let you finish it. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking to it. So, thank you so much for joining us in the Kingdom of the Damned. I'm sorry about all the technical difficulties we've had. I swear this episode is cursed. And thus I am going to give up, because I'm pretty sure it's cursed. It's because it's about ghosts, isn't it? The ghosts are going to come back and get me. Just to be warned, with it being the beginning of October, the horrors of this cursed land have started to emerge, and that's why I'm pretty convinced this is the haunted podcast episode. So, I fear it will not be long before the dead emerge from their graves after this. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen next by this point. So, safe travels, my friend.
I'll be looking out for any undead. It's been a pleasure.
If you spot any, and you spot Matt on the way in, just warn him in advance. I would hate for him to have some difficulties.
I'm sure he's out there having a cup of tea with some headless.
Oh, I'm sure he is, but I would rather I didn't have blood on my carpet. So, just tell him that I don't want blood on my carpet.